Thank you very much. Please remain standing as we administer the oath. The Bible and Bible. Raise the other hand.
I, Saah Richie, Saah Piano Gborlie, do solemnly swear that my testimony I have come to give to the TRC of Liberia will be the truth and nothing but the whole truth. So help me God.
Honorable witness, good morning.
Morning, Chairman Brother.
On behalf of the Commission, we want to welcome you very much to this forum and express our appreciation to you that out of your busy schedule, you could take out time to honor the invitation of the Commission and make your contribution to truth and reconciliation in Liberia. These hearings have progressed over the last 11 to 12 months, and the Commission has conducted it in such a way that we've gathered information from all sources, parties, interested personalities, actors, as well as victims involved with the conflict. We have had a time to understand the nature, the organization, the financing of the different factions involved in the conflict. We have had enough time to understand the root causes of the conflict, and at this time we are focusing on understanding individual roles and trying to clarify the information the Commission has with individuals who were involved in the conflict and one way or another have been named. If you have a prepared text, it will be good. We'll give you the opportunity to read that. But before that, we want to also acquaint you with information the Commission has gathered on your activities during the conflict. Before I go into that, I would like to introduce commissioners who are present so you get to know who you'll be interacting with. At the extreme end of the panel is Commissioner Sheikh Kapuma Kone on the right. Next to him is Commissioner Per Brown Bull. Next to her at my immediate right is Commissioner Umusila, and I'm Chirum Gborlie. We say welcome and thanks. So I would just like to go over the allegations so that you know what they are, and then you can respond to them in the text. Can you confirm that you were once an existing director for special operation of the Liberia National Police? Do you also confirm, sir, that you were Deputy Director for Operations with the LMP?
Yes.
And that you represented Maigibi in the House of Representatives Legislature?
I do represent Maigibi County.
Even now, you do represent
Yes, I'm a representative of Maigibi County.
Thank you, sir. That you serve as one of the senior officers with the MPFL in Banga following your training?
Not true.
Okay.
As an officer, as a member of the MPFL, but not a senior person of the MPFL.
Oh, you're just a member of the MPFL?
Yeah.
Thank you. And then witnesses have come with allegations.
Yeah.
And we'd like you to know, so that when doing your response, you can comprehensively put them together. May 11, 1993, that you executed or ordered the execution of 17 persons that were imprisoned at the NP headquarters in Gwanga, County. That a young man was thrown into the river on a new bridge because he was sailing illegally, and you ordered that action against him. Then the Camp Johnson Road incident, that while serving as an officer of the Liberia National Police during the Camp Johnson Road fracas, you were instrumental in the elimination of several elements perceived to be anti-Taylor. You joined the MPFL in Buchanan, and while in discharge of this duty in the capacity of a law enforcement officer, several crimes were committed, including the Maher Bridge massacre. If you have any information on...
What about Maher Bridge?
Maher Bridge is in Bombing County. And that you, along with one General Town Devil, disempowered a pregnant woman who survived the Phoebe massacre. That was in 1994. And then when you were commanded by one Chachesco, he ordered you to manhandle and torture many civilians and looted their things. Now on February 24, 2002, SOD and ATU officers arrested 45 young men at a displaced camp in Monrovia. And according to an Amnesty International report 2003, as Assistant Director for Special Operations Division, a lot of atrocities were committed by the Liberia National Police. Yeah. Okay, this information have come from different sources, including witnesses, newspapers, and all of that. And that during your stay at the police, I think as Deputy Director, one Thomas Dewey was incarcerated along with, I think, 17 others of the crime tribe who were arrested and charged with treason. But Dewey died while in custody. To date, there have been no investigation. There's been no report. In police custody. One Thomas Dewey. Then while you were also in that capacity, there was a police raid on the university campus in 2001. That students were flogged and brutalized, and that before your men were sent on the campus, they were giving king juice to drink. You questioned it. Before the police officers were sent on campus, they were giving king juice and marijuana to drink, and you personally brought the rattan and distributed it amongst them, and told them it was a special operation that they should execute ferociously. So far, that is what the TRC has received, and we thank you very much for coming, and your response is highly solicited. Thank you.
Chairman Gborlie, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, members of the audience, members of the press, fellow Liberians, I am more than gratified this morning to be part of the history making of our country. Let me say, our being here, I believe, is a way forward in making sure that we gather the truth of our country so that Liberia can live in peace and Liberia can live in stability. Having listened to your introductory statement, Mr. Chairman, I will first of all read verbatim a text that I prepared based on the content of a dissertation you sent us. And then the second phase of my presentation will be to handle the issues we just raised one by one. Even though with reservation, I will say it when we get to the second phase. I will tell you exactly what my reservation is as regards the second phase of the situation. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen of the Commission, I would like to start with the coming into being of the Liberian state. The origin of Liberia is tied to the great slave trade in America. In America, slaves were set free for several reasons, one of which was the invention of the cotton gin, a machine that could do the work of slaves on the cotton fields. What is crucial to the discussions is the province area with the increase in the free slave population, the major one being the rebellion of blacks, which were always led by free slaves. To put stop to slaves, revolts, an association was formed called the American-Colonization Society for the purpose of relocating free slaves in Africa. And this was in 1817. Repatriation of free slaves was said all useful purposes. It would take a population already Christianized and civilized to that continent. Repatriation will also prevent mixing of the races as well as establish the home for the portion of the human family. Such was how Liberia came into existence with the laundering of free slaves on those of Providence Island on January 17, 1822. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen of this commission, I find it important for the Liberian people to understand the etiology of our problem. I'd like to note that the problem germinated from the main factors, for three main factors rather, namely economic, political, and social. As to the economic factor, it can be reasonably concluded that our history has long been saturated with unequal distribution of wealth and opportunities, which prompted the freedom of division amongst our people. As a young man growing up in my country, I witnessed division and hatred, especially between the so-called indigenous and the so-called Americo-Liberians, which eventually developed into a class conflict. With regard to the political factor, it was observed from the past that the so-called indigenous Liberians had limited opportunities to serve their own government, which they created. And the so-called Americo-Liberians dominated all sectors of our government in terms of employment opportunities. Our country also experienced bad governance and fraudulent elections during the period under review, which also resulted in political divisions among the Liberian people. With respect to the social factor, there have been discrimination among Liberians. One group constituting a minute portion of our population saw themselves as superior or supreme citizens of the state, while the so-called indigenous were seen as honored dogs or honored previous citizens. The discrimination created a class system in our country. As time went by, we also witnessed tribal wars among our people, which was somehow created by the hands of the invisible. This divide and rule tendency harm and plunder our country. It is alleged that Americo-Liberians felt they were extra distinct from the indigenous, and as such, neither mingle or interacted with them when it came to certain issues, especially governance. It is important, however, to note that very few indigenous who live with these Americo-Liberians had the opportunity to participate in government. In 1848, the Constitution of the First Liberian Republic came into force with the inauguration of President Joseph Junior Roberts. Article 1 of that Constitution contained provisions on fundamental freedoms, including the right to participate freely in government. It also contained provisions on freedom of assembly, worship, and the press, among others. But these freedoms were not fully adhered to. For example, between 1848 and 1870, black settlers were marginalized in the political process. They were openly kept away from the presidency. In 1870, blacks came to power but were removed in a coup that removed President Edward James Gborlie. Mulattoes bounced back and ruled from 1872 to 1886. From 1886 to 1980, descendants of black settlers marginalized indigenous in the political process. Thus, it is safe to say that democracy was not participatory between 1848 and 1980. The Constitution of 1847 excluded Native Africans from membership in the Liberian political system. It was only in 1904 that citizenship was collectively conferred upon them. They could not, however, vote. They were given this right in 1945 and exercised it in 1946, which took them only as far as the House of Representatives and not the presidency or the Senate. Women voted for the first time in the general and presidential elections here in 1954. In the elections of 1951, Detroit became the first native Liberian to contest the presidency. His name did not appear on the ballot, yet he lost to his incumbent Topman. The first Constitution of the Second Republic came into force in January 1986 with the inauguration of President Simon K. Doe, who has seized power in a military coup 6 years earlier in 1980. While individual participation in the decision-making process has not been restricted, groups have been marginalized in the process too. This became abundantly clear in the election of 1985 when the Liberian People's Party, for example, was banned from participating in the election. Liberians have been moving at a slow pace on the economic ladder. This was so far three primary reasons. One, the political climate was not favorable towards them. They were excluded from the system from the very beginning, 1847. Being non-citizens, they could not enjoy economic rights and privileges reserved for citizens. The second reason was education, which they did not have. Thus, they were handicapped when it came to short, medium, and long-range planning and interaction with businessmen in other parts of the nation and the world. The third reason was skills. They did not possess the requisite skill to operate an emerging modern economy. One led to the assassination of President Toba. Several factors contributed to the violent death of President Toba and other meaningful Liberians. It is speculated that the president's decision to fight with socialist states such as Liberia and Romania brought anger of the West upon the president. It is also speculated that Liberia's severance of diplomatic ties with Israel and insistence of an independent Palestinian state angered the West. Another speculation is that the leadership of the Progressive Alliance, and I will say this in my opinion, those troublemakers, I call it the Progressive Alliance, PAL. I refer to that troublemaker, they are in the parliament today. Mostly of the Tower Oregon who were detained after the late night march of March 1980 was to be executed on the first anniversary of the West Riot, April 14. In order to preempt this act, 17 enlisted men allegedly 17 enlisted men on the armed forces of Liberia or Tower Oregon staged a coup in which we saw the first gruesome killing of people, the president and government officials who were civilians and were not given the due process of law. Tied on the pole and saw the bullets coming in their head by people who said they were excluded from the political of our country, and the way to change it are to kill the president and they shoot the rest of the people on the poles. May the souls of those Liberians and the soul of my mother who died in her bed during the ECMO bomb raid, the ECMO raid, and all other Liberians that died as a result of this bad mentor I was introduced to us by the PAL and others. Rest in perfect peace. The Samuel Kido and Thomas Crompa Saah. Though in Congo were friends of long standing, they attended the same high school, Marcus Garvey, for a brief period, and they stayed in the army about the same time and became involved in the diamond trade. Their interest in the coup came to open when it was reported that detainees of the Midnight March 1986 by the Progressive Alliance of Liberia, the same Progressive Alliance of Liberia, would be executed. Since the majority of the detainees were native boys, so-called native boys, Kwampa and Doe took the gamble to allegedly remove Toro from power as they did. From now on, the friendship between the both of them grew stronger day by day. In the post-war government, the friendship between Samuel K. Doe, a crown from Grand Jida County, and Thomas G. Kwampa, a Gio from Nima County, was extended to their respective peoples and co-entities. But things began to change from 1983 when Doe decided to become a civilian president. So he began to sideline his colleagues in the People Redemption Council. In October 1983, the commanding general was transferred from the barracks to the Capitol building as Secretary General, which he turned down and was accordingly dismissed. In the following month, he was accused of plotting to overthrow Doe with funds from a bank in Yekipa, Nima County. This was the famous Nima raid. After the incident, Kwampa went into self-imposed exile and returned in November 1985. A brief look at the aborted coup d'etat of 1985. The failed coup of November 12, 1985 was a response to the rigged election of the previous October. It will be recorded that in his speech to the nation on April 12, 1981, Commander-in-Chief Samuel K. Doe promised on behalf of the People Redemption Council, the PRC, a return to the barracks in the shortest possible time. That is in 1984. However, unfolding developments delayed the process so that elections were held in October 1985, with Doe winning the elections, the first multi-party election in Liberian history. The failed coup on November 12 was with, former Commanding General Thomas Kwampa was the failed coup of November 12, 1985 was former Commanding General Thomas Kwampa's response to a promise betrayed. It will be recorded, as stated above, that the PRC promised to return to the barracks after handing power over to a democratically elected government. To realize this objective, Kwampa decided to allegedly boost Doe from power and call for fresh elections. We tend to be a little bit legalistic because there are different versions of the story as to whether it was Kwampa who decided to actually remove Doe or seeing PAL people who took through the stone and hit their hands, or somebody else. So I do not have a fixed decision on whether it is Kwampa who did it or who did it. The National Patriotic Front of Liberia, in this historical perspective, the origin of this warring faction goes to the national forces, the National Patriotic Forces of the late Commanding General of the Armed Forces of Liberia, Thomas G. Kwampa. With a handful of fighting men, Kwampa entered Liberia and staged an aborted coup. This was in November 1985. 4 years later, a group of men, mostly Gio and Mana from Nima County, who were in exile in the Africa Coast, planned to unseat President Doe so as to enjoy the human rights and fundamental freedoms. They had no leader, military or political. It was at this point that Charles Taylor, former Director General of the General Services Agency, appeared on the scene, and the Lord fell upon him. After a series of meetings with the cross-section of Liberians in the sub-region, Europe, and the rest of the world, as we learned, Taylor was able to organize the MPFL largely with men from the Gio and Mana ethnic groups, which at times have been the most aggravated group then in Liberia. The death of President Samuel K. Doe. The death of President Samuel K. Doe can be traced to the rift between Grand Jida and Nima County, or more specifically between the Gio and Mana on the one hand and the Crowns on the other hand. And even known in Liberia history as the Nima Raid 1983 and the Vomoto invasion 1985, amongst many marked relations between the two groups mentioned above. The raid came to a climax with the incursion of the MPFA on December 24, 1989 in Nima County. Given the already tense relations between Nima and Nigeria, and that majority of the rebels came from Nima, and that the rebels passed through Nima County, though in Nigeria perceived the attack as a guerrilla manner attack on those in the crowd and not an attack on the government. It was in this light that the incursion was seen by government. It was in this light that the incursion was seen by government and saw every guerrilla manner as a target all over the land. It was against this backdrop that Prince Bow Johnson of the Independent National Patriotic Front of Liberia decided to get door off the political scene off the part of the Nima people. The interim government of national unity and the Black Bearers. During the administration of the interim government of national unity, 1990-1994, a military institution was organized called the Black Bearers. The Black Bearers assisted the Economic Community Monitoring Group, ECOMOG, in clearing Monrovia and its environment of MPFL rebels after the Operation Autopause of October 1992. Autopause was a clash between forces of the MPFL and ECOMOG units, the Saah and the buffer zone, which extended to the suburbs of Monrovia. There are still claims and counterclaims as to who really provoked the upsurge. The MPFL had already lost confidence in ECOMOG and IGNO, who she had initially accused of being a belligerent for reasoning they saw were clear breach of confidence and the rules of arbitration. The Black Bearer was not an illegal organization per se. It was organized by IGNO, a government recognized by the Organization of African Unity, the Economic Community of West African States, and tacitly by the United Nations. Above all, it was organized and supported by ECOWAS to defend the IGNO, a government in an independent and sovereign state, though the AFL still fully existed by the Constitution. How did warring factions emerge when ECOWAS and IGNO were in charge of security? During the administration of the Indian government of national unity, and ECOWAS was in charge of the security of the nation, yet two warring factions emerged, bringing the total to 4 factions. National Patriotic Front of Liberia, the Independent National Patriotic Front of Liberia, the United Liberation Movement for Democracy in Liberia, and the Liberia Peace Council. UNIMA was born from a claim resolved that Charles Taylor failed to negotiate in good faith for peace to come to Liberia and the alleged indiscriminate killing of ethnic Mandingos and Krahns by MPFL factors, which led some members of the above ethnic group to form their own warring faction called UNIMO. With the continued alleged intransigence of Charles Taylor, ethnic clans and samples organized themselves into another warring faction called the Liberia Peace Council, LPC. Mr. Chairman and members of this commission, we talk to chronicle some of these incidents that shifted our history so as to put you in a position of giving our people, to the best of my thinking, what they fairly deserve at the close of the medal of the TRC. Ladies and gentlemen, following several wranglings between our political actors then, they ended up with an agreement called the Abuja Peace Accord. Among other things, that accord called for disarmament of all ex-combatants and demobilization of all warring factions, as well as the restructuring and retuning of the armed forces of Liberia by ECOMOG. These were conditions precedent to elections. Unfortunately, they reneged for reasons best known to them by circumventing these conditions and hastily holding elections, making Mr. Taylor a popularly elected president on the one hand, and craftily a boogeyman on the other. As a result of that disappointment and the fact that these conditions were not met, they commonly used the same combatants to restart the war in 1999, which led to the devastation of the state and the subsequent resignation of former President Charles D. Taylor in 2003. We must ensure, Mr. Chairman and other commissioners, that never again should our leaders be removed by bloodshedding, but instead through the ballot box, exerting our constitutional rights, which is our authority. Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission, it is important to stress the realities of war so as to erase the idea from the minds of those who feel that it can only be better if it is done and at the helm of power. These assertions are being made so that the Liberian people can know the true origin and intricacies of the problems we have been facing as a nation and people. We have to realize that our mentors, the great United States, Awella Crown, Gil, Mana, Americo-Liberians, Kisi, Brother Ogrebo, we are all Liberians, and that Liberia is our home, our national pride. Let us therefore right the wrongs of the past and take full control of our future for our children's sake, bringing them up as Liberians, the united people, with one vision, one nation, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the Commission, for our prepared text, this is how we conclude, and we would like to engage you as regards the content of your invitation to us, specifically on our role in the MPFL and quote unquote the allegations you just mentioned here today. You said to me, Mr. Chairman, that it is alleged that I ordered the execution of 17 persons who were POWs arrested or captured from Lofa County. One thing I'd like to say here clear today, the fact that it was mentioned in the papers that I myself saw that these people were captured in Lofa County and they were Unimo people. I don't care. We don't share blood in Lofa County. The people of Lofa County are the most honest people I knew before this war. The most conservative people I ever knew in my life when I was growing up as a young man in this country. I was taught by my parents to love my brothers. I come from a family of more than 30 children. All the boys eat together and all the girls eat together. The Pera, the Loma, the Bandits, I traditionally consider our nephews. The best thing someone like me will do is to save a Pera man, a Loma man, or a Bandi man, or a Manugo man, who are my nephew. We have a blood relationship. Our relationship is not only linear or collateral, but it goes beyond affinity relationship and consanguinity. So never in my life I ever saw or will ever have under the execution of people which were being a violation of the Geneva Convention. So that information is just one of those lies that people continue to make around to spoil this country and continue to lie. Kill people from Lofa County, never ever. It did not happen, and I believe it will never happen. Somebody say new bridge. I honor the throwing of somebody in a new bridge. Was I running Prosecom? Prosecom is the private security company that I'm a majority shareholder. That's the one I can control when we go to meeting. You have an institution sanctioned by law. You know the Liberian National Police were established by law, responsible for domestic law enforcement. How can I be the one to order the execution of a person, of a living being? That information is not truth. I will be very much happy to confront my accusers so as to get to the nitty-gritty of the matter, and I'm sure at the end of the day justice will prevail. Ken Johnson Road, I got a fun to play here today. Ken Johnson Road, look, let me tell you something. I was a member of the MPFL, but I was blessed never to have been a frontline commander. Everything that happened about war business, I was out of it. I was never part of the plan of any war. Neither was I part of the execution of any war. To add to it, when we came to Monrovia after the elections, my chief of security, who is alive, who was in being then, and who was soon us then, is a current person. Most of the social relationships I had in Monrovia, the initial ones, were current people. For a simple reason I did that, because we knew there were going to be times where people would lie. People would like, my father was with Firestone for 35 years, 30 years before the war. No crime man, my pa, you're friendly with the crown people, you're friendly with the Maningo people. The people started a war from Kenny Tower and those Liberian the town on the pole. Why pay I got to go look for crown man or to go look for Maningo man to wage war on it? There was the government, and I think the best person to be questioned if we have to invoke the appropriate legal authority to answer for these situations is the government, the head of government. And I think TRC got a lot of money to go to Rotterdam or perhaps to hold those like they can ask in his stead, but not Saah Gborlie. I did not stage any war, any crown people. I'm very, very friendly and I'm very good to the crown people. Most of my money I make During my work in the police department, initially I spent on Crown people because I told you my social relationship with a lot of Crown people. So this is further misleading. Phoebe massacre. I was in Banga on September 4th, 1994, when Banga was attacked. I seen them in Ghana. I had a pregnant woman. My 14-year-old daughter was born in the same September 26, 1994 in Flompa, Nima County, when she was running away. I was not involved with, I was not a commander of any military unit on the front line. I was a deputy MP commander for the executive management presidential guard force. So it's not possible that I will participate in any Phoebe massacre. Phoebe massacre, to go to the hospital and kill people, that's not our culture. First of all, I said to you, I came from a family of more than 20 boys and more than 20 girls. If my brother ate my food, I didn't have the beating. All I needed to do was to wait for your own food and eat it. If you took my new clothes and wore it, I saw a new clothes, I took it. Going to people, running behind people, Phoebe, where the Pella People Hospital. From the time going on, I always knew Phoebe to be Pella People place. I would not kill a Pella man. I would not go to Pella People place and destroy it. I never did that. All right? My daughter, my partner, Rachel Gborlie, who is in St. Rock, the Cali school in Indianapolis, she's 14 years of age, was born in the same September. 2 weeks, 1 week and a half after my family, running away myself because it was a surprise thing. Mr. Taylor had left to go to a peace conference. The day before the attack, some of our big people, like Mr. Tom, who I told you have called to really explain the whole MPFL thing, instead of somebody like me, who was just a gun toter, one labor, can't tote the gun also, you know. They had a press conference and said Banga was besieged and they were going to attack Banga. And it happened that morning. So the best thing militarily to do was to retreat. And I retreated with my family then, and my daughter was born right around the same time. I had the opportunity to have a lot of sisters, and one of my sisters was friendly with a man from Nima. So we shot sanctuary in Flompa. We can go to Flompa today. I can show you where she was born, out of a hospital. And as a result of this, she got those medical deficiencies and I have to look for money every time to send for other her sinus and all the other problems, the complications she got. So I did not participate in anything in Phoebe. I was never a frontline commander and did not participate in anything. Never. And I would also be happy if those who made the allegations can come and do so we can confront them and get into the nitty-gritty of the Phoebe situation. The SOD and ATU, I don't know whether you want me to speak for the SOD. The SOD, like you have the ERU today, was a unit of the Liberian National Police. I do not speak for the Liberian National Police. When I got to the National Police, we have a veteran law enforcement executive that graduated from the best school, one of the best schools, security schools around the world, John Jay College of Criminal Justice, the late Charles Dishi. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Charles Dishi was the one that established inspector services. The SOD grew out of inspector services, and I have said this to the Americans and a lot of people, a lot of international people. The SOD did not come from White Flower to the police station. It was the thinking of Mr. Dishi, who had all the expertise in law enforcement, that in a post-war country, taking the consideration that there were going to be the emergence of new crimes and new activities in the country as we have today. So there was a need to have a SWAT team, what they call the SWAT team, to respond to these violent crimes, and these crimes we refer to in the law as crimes via means. There were armed robberies all around here. You were here, most of you were here. You saw that people were being hijacked. We have factions, people had just come from war, and don't forget, I told you in my introductory statement that the demobilization after the initial war, the 1990 war, yes, it succeeded somehow, the disarmament succeeded somehow, but people were not rehabilitated, people were not reintegrated properly. You know, the politician after who could run quick to get power, so they silence all of those things. People still have guns around here. And when the government got elected, the government had a responsibility under the law to protect the citizen. And what make a government, the first thing is the sovereignty, the protection of your territorial sovereignty. And so it was the idea of Mr. Charles A. Dishi, not the idea of Saah Gborlie. And I will not elaborate further because I do not speak for the police department. The head of the police department after Charles Dishi, after Mr. Joseph Tate, is still alive. He's a Liberian. He's reputable, the deputy chief of police for administration. is here. She's a lady. I'm sorry, she's not too well right now. After all the long services in the police, she's just one of those people that's been set aside, and she's no value anymore. She's there. My sister, my big sister and friend, Margaret Bro, she's in town. I was the deputy director of operations. So nobody coming. I want you to put me in a position to be able to say the SOD, what they did and why they did this. If the circumstances exist by law. But you got the people who are in charge of the situation, who are responsible out there, in charge of operations. And my details are clear as far as the detail manual, as far as the law that created the police is concerned. So I do not speak for the police department. So with all due respect to the commission, the best thing to do is to find the ATU people who ask them questions about the ATU, and the SOD to speak to the chief of police. In the absence of those two people, then it will be appropriate to ask me. Or once they are alive and they are Liberians, I think the best people to talk for them, talk for the SOD, is the head of the police department. Because under the doctrine of respondent superior council of brother, you know and I know, it is the superior that's supposed to speak for the institution, the man ahead of the institution. Peter Bonajala is now a minister in government. He was minister of justice in the Tudor government. Councillor Ellington Varma was minister of justice in the Tudor government. And Councillor Johnson, Professor Kobe Johnson, is here, he's alive. So you speak to them. They're supposed to speak for represent the police department, not Gborlie. The next thing is AMP atrocities. If there's any atrocity committed by the AMP, I reiterate here again that the best people to answer for the AMP would be those that were in charge of the operation of the AMP. Somebody died in police custody, not to my knowledge. I was not directly in charge of police custodies. We had two withholding cells. One at the charge quarter and one at the CID area. So I don't know which specific situation you're talking about, but I think you have the power to subpoena any public document consistent with law. You can do so to look at the report. We have Mr. Lemuel E. Reeves, who is a veritable Liberian, who is a counselor at law now. He worked for the Council Center, he was the CID director, and most of the investigations, as far as I'm concerned, were done by the CID. They were never investigated by me. The reports came to me, came through my office. And that was my authority. My authority was not to go be involved with prison, police withholding cell and what have you. Police raid. There was a situation, and I want to be specific. And the reason why this one around, I want to emphasize on a little bit is because it has to do with young people, and I believe in the vision of young people. That the only way the country will change, those people who introduce violence in the country, especially when you're 50 years old and above, to get out of the landlord and let the young people come with a fresh mind to develop the country. So because it has to do with school business and people who are our colleagues will give a gist of what happened. There was this situation when seeing people lost the election, they went in the bushes and the mountains to wage new war in the country, because you know they were very smart. They always left a loophole. You know what we'll do, yeah? Let's take some of the arms, let's demobilize them, let's do a tacit demobilization, but the issue of rehabilitation, I think if you do it, if you reintegrate the man in society, to go back to the man, for example, as the fellow, if the man is able to do an earnest living, if you went to him with a gun, he will say, no, I have my wife, I got my children. So it was intentional. It was intentional. The first disarmament should not be carried out properly based on the Abuja Peace Agreement. Because as soon as they lost the election, they went straight to the bushes. In fact, there were threats made by someone there. The same people. There were threats made that if I lost the election, I will go to the bush, I will go to the swamp, I will go to the I don't know what they call it As soon as they lost the election, they said, well, we already got our scapegoats. We got the children there, we're looking for a job in that job. They can't go in the bush again. They went in the bush, they waged war through Lofa County. Peaceful Lofa County, the prayer basket of the country. What normal men know about war business? What giving men know about war business? We never love a fool. Through our life, it's not the farm. Like my father, all I saw my father doing with a lot of children and a lot of wives was to make farms in Firestone. He's alive, he's around 90s now. Living over 90 years of age. He worked with distinction, won all the honors in a reputable worker, and a committed worker can work in his own domain to make earnest living for his children. I live with him, I serve with him. Not only did I live with him, I serve with him because I got a 4 o'clock with him when he was giving instructions to the headman to tell the time I go to work. He sent me on the farm to buy bread before I took me out to go to school. He sent me to go dig Kazan and to call my brother to why to feed our pigs and to feed our goats so that he can make extra money to help us to go to school. I never came out in a brutal environment for somebody to go away well on the people of Lofa. When the war came in, when the government announced that there was an insurgency, people say, y'all know that child of man, you ready again for a thing, the children that go shoot going in Lofa to go steal money, to go look for people to go loot. Nothing happening in Lofa. Just imagine how devilish that is. I'm from Lofa, my sisters from Lofa County, though I was born in Firestone, but my mom and my papa from Lofa. I come and enter them running away, coming to walking through. The same area my father was when you're coming to sell meat before you got the Firestone tapping job. The walking coming to get the news, sending out funding to find out people supposed to know what's going on. The University of Liberia is where people go to acquire knowledge. It's where people go to get change, to get reform, to kind of help the society. It's not a lawless place. All right? They said there was a leadership in place. At that time, I had my best friend and brother, Alfonso Nimini. He's in the country, he's living. He's my best friend because he's a fact. He's my best friend. And he can attest that he's my best friend. We have several interactions from that day to today. And he knows exactly what I am. And he will be the best witness to tell you the role I played when I encountered him at the police station. He and the Superintendent of Roger can tell you that for free. He will tell you. Well, in a question, he can tell you that I never participated in knocking on anybody. But rather, I was there to tell us, look, gentlemen, these are students, these things can happen. You know, there will always be politicians to push people to do things. We ain't got no part to play in it. All we do, same way apprehended, you put our apprehended agitators in the yellow to be here, we process them and send them to court because the due process required that when the man come in contact with the law, the police has for 8 hours to make sure they are processed and sent them to court. But more besides that, how the police got involved, I like to say law enforcement is a career. Law enforcement, there are ethical values that govern every law enforcement practice. Law enforcement institutions get involved when there is a situation and how, when the crime is committed in the presence of a law enforcement officer, 2, when a complaint is filed with the law enforcement institution that an offense has occurred or is about to occur. 3, when the law enforcement agency or the law enforcement officer has reason to believe that the action of an individual or an individual will cause infringement on the rights of order and peace and security, then that's how they come in. And these actions are done on 3 major principles. The principle of legality, the principle of necessity, and the principle of proportionality. The police department got in 3 days, even before I got to know that there was an attempt to do a rally for people, for journalists, who the government said were aiding in the subversion of the country. That was not my business. It is the right of the government to make acquisition. The only role we play as law enforcement people during this kind of situation is to play a constitutional and a legal role. I didn't know that Mr. Benra had written the police department that they had reason to believe that there were going to be disturbance on the university campus. Lemuel E. Reeves is a graduate of the University of Liberia from both the undergraduate program and the Louis Allegren School of Law. He was in charge of the CID. They were working on the intelligence to know, because the way we move is not just we do static intelligence, especially when there are riot situations. There are imminent riot situations. We do what we call static intelligence or current intelligence to be able to identify the leaders, the agitators. Because it's a bad thing to get a large number of citizens, especially young people and students, at the police station locked up for one of these things that will always happen around the world. So the best thing to do is to try to identify the agitators, take them from there, and try to engage them and send them to court if they need harassing. Now, the administration of the university, to my best knowledge, wrote the police department and said, these people are about to have a rally, and we think that it will not be in the best interest of the national security of the country, because if the government says it's under attack, it's a national problem. So for people to dispute, to have disputed what the government said, and the government took it out of issue, then students from the university supposed to be learning, who's supposed to be sharing their opinion at the political party, who's supposed to be assembling at a different area other than on the school campus, even though the law gives right to students to assemble and discuss national issues, but to the extent that the national style around the national security of the country, the university administration, who is the chief architect or the chief custodian of all students at the university, read the police department. I mentioned to you that the way we get involved, law enforcement institutions get involved in issue is when complaints are filed with us, when crimes are committed in our presence, and we have reason to believe that a crime will be committed. So in this case, a complaint was filed, official complaint was filed, according to my best understanding. Complaint was filed. So the police were under obligation to protect the other students who did not want to participate. All right? In the process of investigating and finding out who were the agitators, they said, according to information, the university students said, do not have the rally. It will not be good for you to have the rally at the university campus here. All right? They defy the university administration and said they will have the rally. So the university had no alternative but to invite the police to stop them from having the rally. As you may be aware, normally when these things happen, there will be small skirmishes. All right? People will people were, in the process of dispersing your car, there are different formations that you use. If you did riot control, that means you will know what I'm talking about. It was wedge formation. So in the process, yes, it is true, yeah, people ratting, somebody whip with ratting or somebody, but to the extent that people will say, I serve King Juice and marijuana on people who should be legally suing law enforcement officers. To go execute law enforcement duty, they should be drugging it, they should be giving substances, illegal substances. That's a disgrace to the profession. And I would not have done that. I would not have done that. All right? That did not happen. When the police got on the campus to engage the crowd, according to the report we received, it was wedge formation because the intent was to pick up the agitators. People were stoning. So the police had to use the best, the most appropriate and proportionate means to get the agitators. And they were gotten. They were gotten. And that was happening on the campus there. There was no array. I did not plan array. I did not premeditate any situation to go and knock on somebody. Alfonso Nimini can attest that when they brought them to the police station, and don't forget now, we're human beings. The problem did not start on that day. There were already problems in the country. People have misconceptions about each other. People have misbeliefs about each other. All right? There were people in the police department from local country. There were people in the police department from other countries. You know, humanly speaking, you know that war going on in your village. Like my village, Fabalahuta, they burned it down. Then I'm a policeman, and the people say no war going on. There's somebody that backing the people who bring in the war. Quote unquote, backing the people who bring in the war. If I go for you as a human being, I mean, it's not right. But if that's what you'll be angry because of the situation your people are experiencing, and you use the PR24 label hashtag or the PR12 label hashtag. The PR24 is the short button that we use for tactics, for defense tactics, and the long one is used for the make a riot situation. The 36 rather, not 12 rather. It's 36. It's 24 and 36. And so these are the things that happen, But to say we are playing or Ray, okay, gentlemen, come. Let me preconceive. Let me put you against the student populace. That did not happen. I'm surprised that they didn't mention the second incident at the university when Mr. Shafakodo allegedly spearhead people who caught a stay on the campus and people got wounded and there were disturbance on the campus. I personally intervened in that situation too, and they know what I did. So in this country, we got a problem where people will just try to put loud together and say the bad part of things. They will never say the good things. There's sufficient evidence in the country. Reputable people in the country know that we meant well. The situation was such that we were not the one that created it. Was started where people said they were marginalized from the country. I mean, in the government process of the country, and the way to bring change. That okay, one president go tap people parents on the pole and shoot them with gun, and the war continued for that day. So I think we should be thinking better than it is now to actually establish the actual cause or the cause in fact of these problems today. And if you were to ask me as a Liberian, putting my title as Saah and putting my role as Saah as one of the persons that work in the tailor or whatever way where you know exactly they are still around here. Even though most of them today their faces are so clean. You know what I mean? They can't even sweat. Their faces are so clean, they bright, some of them got big position in government, out of the world, some of them in New York, some of them in Washington, some of them here in Liberia, and all over the year today, they acting that they don't do nothing. But let me say something today, and which is not loud, and I will pause for other things that you may want to bring out. They are there that people think that it's smart to continue to ruin the country and hide our hands and try to use other people as scapegoat. It has got to stop. Because let me tell you something. You can fool people sometimes, but you can't fool them all the time. And they know that we know that there's probably problem in the country. A good parent will not drinking you in front of a child. A good man will not go bring boyfriend in front of the children. Even the girl boyfriend will hide it. You say they exclude you from government, so the way to participate in government that'll go fool the soils. No, if I have my own way, we don't even have the soils. Nobody to talk about 19 soil being or 17 soil being here. There were people who said they went to school and they came by the way to help on now to bring the indigenous in the government that'll go state Coup to go kill good men at all. Now, let me tell you what happened down there. I went to go have some food. For my third time, I met one of the former president, the late President Towa's sons. He was 12 years old when the coup took place. He was shot in a bar. He explained that story to me how he left the mansion. The other son Joseph told me how he was in the elevator for 2 days. Why should we go through those kind of things? And the people who introduced violence in the country, then they pretend as though they ain't clean the other people. They should be smart enough now to know that the time in the political process, the government process is normal because we carry out of it, but we will not do it the way they do it. I mean, the way they did it. We'll vote them out of power. I'm not without any prejudice. We'll do it democratically, and they'll be here responsible. And the way they'll be here responsible, we'll not hold there that they're doing to other people. We'll let them go to the villages and to the farms to go sit down there to get way to those who did not participate at all, to those who are victims, who are considered victims. We should be thinking about how we can forge ahead with the our president or the second TV our affair like the second one. We have a serious vulnerability problem. We have serious problem of in the SSR. The issue of ownership is still something we still discussing at the policy level. Then people come here, they try to let it clean. They better take it easy and understand that we know that they cause the problem in the country and they should be here responsible for the problem they cause in the country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the Chairman of the Commission. I'll be more than willing to talk to all of you in a very friendly manner too. But let me say, I'm here because the Liberian people decided in 2003 at the way out is the TRC. This place not tribunal for anybody to come here and be questioning people that you want tribunal chief. Anybody going to behave like a tribunal, then we'll make a play of tribunal because to the tribunal, that's why people don't go to tribunal. Normal people don't go to tribunals. So this is the warning and it's not a threat. I hope people will take cue from this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We recognize that this is not a tribunal. This is a fact-finding institution for us to understand each other and clarify and get to know the facts out of the several issues that come about. We thank you very much for your written presentation and also your comments on the presentation that I made initially. Can we have a copy of your written presentation, please? In due course? Oh, you want to correct it then? Okay. Okay. Then there is something you said I'd like to get clear. You assisted your father when he was employed with Firestone. You assisted your father, you worked with your father when he was employed with Firestone to do his work.
Not in the legal sense that I'm in the employ of Firestone, but that is, as a boy coming out, my father was an overseer. When we woke up in the morning, I woke up with him, 4 o'clock, and serve Firestone. And as a result, Firestone paid taxes to the government of Liberia. Most of the people that come here and made all the nods, they didn't say one day whether the power paid tax and where the money went and all the kind of thing. But I'm not going to go there because I know my woman is okay.
You were a child at the time?
Well, not a child, a boy. Maybe a boy. My father started working for Firestone, same Firestone king. And when I was born, my father was already an overseer. And he had a lot of wives. So what he does, among the children, the one that's smart and the one that like working business are good, I can take care of your things, I can go on your operation, you say, come be with me. The day you want to see one of your mom.
Were Firestone paying you for the services you were rendering?
My pa?
No, you.
I don't want it to be an issue. I don't have problem with my father and myself getting up in the morning. I wanted to be strong like him because I saw my pa making money, to tell you the truth. I saw him working hard, and that's how I am. That's why I am the way I am today. Thank you. Okay. I have no problem with it.
Okay, that is fine. Just
Thank you.
There have been allegations of child labor against Firestone.
My pa do no fire. We got the child labor. You should draw it up for a man. You should put a man on the fire. You should scratch your father back. Your father taking by go scratch the back and all the kind of thing. Okay. Your father saying to spoil your other man. Your father saying to spoil your other man. I don't see as anything. It never affected me. It made me stronger. I want today plus this plus that minus that. I am what I am, and will continue to be what I am because I learned it when I was growing up, and it grew in me. So now when I walk in, I don't have a problem, and today I ain't got no problem. I can go anywhere. I can live. I got my farm. My farm is all going. Today I still have food on the farm. I got some constituents, people who work in my constituency and retire now. I employ them there on the farm, and I send some food there with one former overseer. And they went there with the jeep, the black jeep. They carry some food there today. That's how I was brought on, and that's how I am. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Commissioner Stewart and Commissioner Coleman have just joined the panel.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stewart, Commissioner Coleman, Commissioner Boo. Commissioner Boo is to ask question.
I am Commissioner Pearl Brown Bull, as introduced by the chairman. I want to say to you, Mr. Witness, thank you for coming in response to our invitation to come and answer certain allegations, posts that were leveled against you in your respective positions you held, association and affiliation. Before going further, you know, we the Liberians have our own way of speaking, and sometimes we talk too fast. I am like that. So you saw me bringing my head over to hear what you were saying, but what you were saying was very witty. And in following the chairman, we want a copy of your paper. But thank God we have it recorded, and we'll be able to understand it better with the reading.
Thank you.
It was very witty because you did talk about in line with our contemporary history. You gave us that, as well as your involvement and the allegation posed to you. You said you denied most of the allegations. And in response, what you said I like, and the TRC mandate calls for this. Article 7, Section 26, write it down. Article 7, TRC Act, Section 26, F, says that the TRC should provide an environment conducive to constructive interchange between victims and perpetrators. And in essence, we should create an environment. If somebody, and you said it clearly, and what I'm saying, your statement is what the TRC mandate say we should do. If somebody gave an alleged something against you, that person will come and face you, face your accuser, so you can say yes or no, or if you have done something wrong, to ask for forgiveness. Because what we hear for truth session, telling the truth, reconciliation, and our motto also justice. So it's now a one-way street. So you call on us, you say those who say something against you must come. So you have given us the challenge, and that challenge is not a threat. It is in conformity to what we're supposed to do. You have denied all those allegations. So those who have made those allegations, the TRC have them, they should call these people, and are you willing to come back to confront them, right? Okay, that's number one. Secondly, you also raised the issue, some of the allegation of respondent superior.
Thank you.
Respondent superior, that you know the legal thing here, but since we are representing all aspects of the Liberian society, and also we add principal and agent, that means you say some of the things, allegations that were committed, alleged, they should ask the head, the people who get the authority, get the instruction to do it. What? Can you explain it in simple language?
Don't get me wrong, man. Like I said, for someone to try to push me on the wall to answer questions for the work of the police, when I was done the chief of police, I think it's a disservice to the law, because response superior is clear. It's clear that institutional, except is a personal wrong. If it is a personal wrong, I will be more than happy to confront my accusers. But to the extent you say the police did something on the SOD, why can't I do an SOD being there? I was not chief of police. I wish I was chief of police to sign the government payroll and eat more money than the people that were eating more money than me.
What you could do in this regard, because some of us were not around, some don't know who were the parties involved, who were the bosses, and you came to help participate in the process, and like some come say, y'all go do your research. Yeah, you research, you can't find the capacity and all. Now, all you could do for this respondent superior, if you could simply supply for the record, and you could do it, because if you work during that period, you can still please tell us who were the boss at that time, to make it easier, because it is within your citing knowledge. So could you please, like, what are the allegations? Who were the people to the police, or who were for SOD, if you know? Could you call the names to make it easier?
There were different periods. During the regime of Mr. Taylor, there were different periods. We had the period of Mr. Chadishi, who is now the March. Chadishi, Then after Chadishi came, Joseph Tate, he's there too. Yeah, but you know, then Paul E. Moluba.
Paul Moluba.
Director of Police.
The Director of Police.
Yeah, Director of Police.
Also from Lofa, you say the Lofa people don't.
We don't see our blood, each other blood. I tell you, she come from I know maybe even Nima way, but you got Manungo people, and you know, get Bani people, everybody in the place there with nephew and uncle. The only thing we do that, like, you know, live and make farm and eat and enjoy and live to color your happiness. Yeah. So, but let me say something. Let me be clear. Even to the point, if, for example, I was representing the police, you have to come with specific things that you said they did. The atrocity, you can't just say they committed atrocities in general. You know you're a lawyer. So you got to be specific. But to tell you the truth, I cannot speak for the police department. I was not here. You know the law that created the police department. You know the law that the executive law that created the Department of Justice. All right, we have people who were ministers who were here of the Justice Department. Kobe Johnson, yeah, you're a professor at the university. He taught me property and commercial law. Yeah, he lived on Dubo Road. Wait a minute. Kobe Johnson is here. Kobe Johnson is here. You were Minister of Justice. You were the last Minister of Justice. Ellington Farmer was the second Minister of Justice. Peter Bono Jala was the Minister of the lie. Wait a minute, small ball of me.
Because you have called names of authorities who are higher, and they are around within the bailiwick, that means within Liberia.
I know.
And the TRC now is obligated to call these people. Their names have been mentioned, and I'm citing it is our duty to call them, to confront them with these allegations. Thank you. Now, another aspect you talk about, the contemporary history of Liberia. I'm putting this with you who just said how the Lofa people do not kill and harm their relatives, their nieces, their nephews, so definitely their sister and their brother and their mom and their pa. That's Lofa, that's one county. You talk about the contemporary history, and you gave us, another picture to look at the contemporary history of the conflict. Maybe if we're not looking that way, you started from the inception of Liberia, and you made it clear that the so-called the red black people did not rule until although 1847, but the red dark skin did not rule until 1869, say 1870, when E.J. Roy became president. All right, I just want us to follow, because I won't come back to the last question. You say how the Lofa people don't hurt each other, and I won't pose this question to you and all of us, because if we see the trend, and if only we could just change, it will be just like what Kofi Woos said here 2 days ago. If this was the way it went and could see the pattern, there really would be no need for an army. And you also show how the army was used, why it was used, and who used them, the politician. So until 1870, E.J. Roy became the first dark man. You see the struggle. As soon as he got there, in few, maybe a year or so, they said he stole, and they didn't shoot him by a gun, but they overthrew him.
I think the people try. They never shoot him with a gun. The other people who came to do the change.
The same white people used the propaganda for that he stole money.
Yeah.
So almost corruption started in that way. But now when we read the history book, we finish saying he was a rich man to export it. Already got rid of him. That showed that there were a group of people who were united together for a cause, were able to come together to get rid of this man for the establishment. Right. Now, E.J. Raw, though he was killed, but at least this 2-week party, his group of people were able to see something in common, have some bond in common, come together, and were able to keep the government, as he said, for 130 something years, because they had something that they had in common bond, maybe knew that people came and took something away from them and they had to keep it together. They moved for 130 and 1980, enlisted men representing the indigenous. I want you to follow me in the trend, and came together for purpose alleged to get rid of the same 2-week party people who held together, had something in common for 133 years. But they came to a coup with the gun. They used the same thing what they used against Ross for corruption. Rampant corruption. Yes. But you said that Tahiti men, what they use, they kill people without due process or law.
In my opinion,
it's the same way like they did with Roy. They say he stole and they dragged him, he really didn't have due process or law.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So you contest, then you said Kuyampa came on. You said you believe that it was a group of people, you call them PAL, or maybe the progressive or whatever. A group of people use Kuyampa, but
it's not necessarily part alone, but I said part played a role.
Yeah,
and a Kumba and Joe when you are born.
Yes, use that pawn. Okay, yeah. So a group use them. Divide
the two of them. Yeah.
And they use this slogan, some mission to say that a promise betrayed because they came together and said, we will overthrow, we want a government, but we will not rule.
We'll go back to the barracks.
We'll go back to the barracks.
Yeah.
So since you want to be president, you betray us, they use that to him, and he came to get rid of those.
Because certain people who are interested in power now, they use the soldier to overthrow, and they wanted power. So they have to go tell the other soldiers, say, man, tell the man, they will not still in power.
Yes.
And the confusion started. Yes. They think the people got you to started. I mean, you know that some kill man like a male, you used to be a male, but you don't let you no more. Come back, they're looking for you, don't come back looking for you. It's got confusion between the people.
So since it was aborted, mean that it failed, it didn't come, because you know we understand, but we're talking for the masses, the people, the majority of the people who won't understand. So that's why we use abortive and bring it down in simple language. Since the coup failed, it didn't work, and Doe and his people decided to look at the family, the area from which Kuyampa came, the Nima, Kio, and Minor, and they decided to kill them, go after them. Then, based on that, I understand the question, did you say that's why the crowns, the Nima people, Gios and Minor, specifically that Nima people, decided to organize in articles. I want to understand.
No. What happened? Let me tell you something. When the whole PAL thinking about, and certain people were arrested for treason, or why they were arrested for, they were in jail. They use it and say, 17 men enlisted people, let's get together, let's try to move Tor, because Tor are the same people who have roofed 100 years and things like that. The coup went on, the sheriff was saying in the front, and I believe that it was you as a pawn. You're sitting in the front, and then they say, you go overthrow, but the revolution is only for a period, and we'll go back to the barracks and turn the country to civilian rule. And because of that promise, to go back and do that, because you know the politicians, they look for the slightest loophole. Alright? When the confusion started, when they put that castle between the two people, it grew. You know, human being, distrust began to grow between the two persons. Of course, they were leaders. Though, as a master sergeant became a head of state after a coup, of course, you know that. All his cousins, his brothers, his friends, and most of them were army people because he grew in the military. Benefited. They became part of the situation of the PRC. You know the configuration of the PRC, you know who are there, alright? Who are to hire, if I don't want to hire a lot of money and give them the army. So when confusion came between the two leaders, the guys supposed to follow the leader. Kumba run away, the rest of the people gotta run away. If they catch the leader, they catch the leader and do something to you, you the small boy doing what thing. You peer all you. So you want to be peer all you run away. You go seek refuge somewhere, and you know they got a lot of people on the boat. You know, on the Africa's border, they got killed and many people there. They have relatives and things. Perhaps the people who brought the imagine on the war, they were looking for manpower. But the way they get manpower, they did it strategically. That brings confusion between the crown and man, because the thing about it, to tell you the truth, the man heart, I stand to be corrected. I know some people will not like the way I'm saying it, but come on, there's the TRC, thank God, the act is clear on immunity. All right. Of course, I'm not going to say anything insinuated, but I'm saying the whole strategy was, you know, as a human being, power is very corrupt. To have seen him, they thought that it was a mistake to send his in their hair. You know, politicians are very, some politicians, not somebody like me, are very scary people. They all want to find a way to send out to eat money, to get jobs, to control the politics, to control the government. But to the extent that they were in favor of Simon Cable being president, or remaining president, or Togo Kwamba, that was not the objective of the politician. The objective was for them to do the daily work. And you understand that for that, one of them got claim the glory. So bring confusion. Of course, when you have one of the commander on the phone, let me tell you something. I participated in combat. And you know that he asked me now, our MPF, yeah, I participated in combat. When the commander dies or get wounded on the front line out here, the attack will stop. Except it is an attack comprising of people of less capability. No, people of less capability. On the front line, we got two types of people. We got the small children working for 2 men. We get the top man where when you get 15, in one time, they can still continue operation. But most time, when you kill the commander, the rest, there's no attack. Everybody run away. So when combat those started apparent and that confusion came and combat came with that abundant thing, of course the rest of those man boy and kill boy in the army, they had to run away for their lives. The politicians are looking for people to come back because they got to find where they move to. They not get rid of one already in fact. To move the other one, they still don't run away now. They how to recruit. You know what vulnerable? That's why I mentioned that this issue of the Ara process on the second phase of the TD Ara. Because let me tell you, after the Abuja peace accord, the people reneged. They reneged deliberately on continue. I mean, looking at the terms of the Abuja agreement in terms of demobilization, rehabilitation and reintegrating the people in the society, because they wanted to keep one of the four behind like that to see what could happen in the election. All right, all the after election, you're not going to election. You know, sometimes in a family, the child you hear too much and the child can be correct. They want the election, the men that they didn't want to win, maybe because you won, they say, but we got to go for new manpower. We got to go, we still got to improve. They are not demobilized properly. They are not rehabilitated. They are not reintegrated. Because trust me, at my level, I told you I participated in combat, and I grew through the ranks of fight, and I took part in even the transitional government before this election. I participated and went to elections to disprove the notion that people can have a people. And the people that bunch of talks, the other men are not this. And I can show you, I will continue to make history. Once the opportunity, once the processes in the country, democratic processes are free and fair in this country, we'll continue to make history in the country. They use the people who are poor, they are victims, they're in the street, laundering in the street today. Part of your recommendation is to make sure we should post official money in our process. I am working as chairman of national security in the Liberian Parliament now, the Liberian legislature now. We have started discussion with the speaker and the DDRR people. You know, the president was magnanimous in extending the last term of the DDRR because it is clear that the president did not work. All the millions of dollars that the donor community is saying here, it in some people's pocket. I don't know when the TRC will start calling the people who took the people money, because my power was over 40 years. You can't tell me he paid money, he pay tax. Fast don't pay tax to Liberia, plenty. And you know, and the way the money was used, they're saying, you know, the problem. I ain't accusing nobody directly, the problem. But as a security expert, I'm saying we still have a serious issue of vulnerability. All right? That's why you see I'm playing a role today in this government to the extent I want peace and security. Sometimes people insinuate that you man of the government and parliament buy me. Do you know me? Do I look at someone who can be bought? I'm working for the country honestly. Government is about collaboration. It's about coordination. It's about making sure that people get peace. I can't resort to any state because I can be poor anymore. But these guys who stay in the streets who have been properly rehabilitated and reintegrated in the society, there's a possibility. And out of as a criminologist, I will tell you, we look at the causes of the problem. And most of the problems for criminality can be attributed to what we call environmental determinism. Any man does not have any way to work, any way to make an earnest earning. You can't get income, you can't fight, you can't take power again. The same way it happened from the beginning of the problems. They will do it. So to avoid that, we need to look at our component of the DDRR. The first one failed because the politicians know how time. They want a president job. I don't know. They go for him when I say a president been in a one-man war. They go get the people came in there and say, "I go for him, man." I tell you, you're a former Unimo man, you're a former LPC man, or a former AFM or Blackberry man, and you want the election, charter MPFL one election. Then your commander can't say, "My man, the charter man one election. We can't take you. They go for you. You know what? You're fine." Except that you are reintegrated, you're fine. You're going to war. We still got people here now. We got something called disbanner. That means disbanner soldier, disbanner security and thing. I have told the president of Liberia, and I part of the TRC there, I part of the West. And the president, your mother, all the partner here, other people say this, other people say that, but I believe strongly that you got to be constructive and engaging. And she said, yes, you got to work with the people. That's why. Under my authority as chairman of national security, we make sure we pass the Veteran Act. Liberia being existing, the armed forces of Liberia don't have no Veteran Bureau. We make sure we get the Veteran Bureau because of our own responsibility in the security sector. We make sure we told the president in our report that the Minister of Defense, my cousin Samuka Esiko to decide whether the way the Minister of Defense should be run or what you want to do. No. I told the president, we will talk to them, we'll discuss with the people, we're going to find a way to integrate these people. They are our people. And in fulfillment of that promise, we form a Veteran Bureau to ensure that where there are jobs available, we'll go to the Veteran Bureau and look at the data bank or the database there and be able to get people who can do some work when work is available to be able to locate them. Now the essence of facility, in addition to other benefits, to be able to get people who enter the army legitimately to be able to get them to go do some job. The RR company and the DDRR, we want it to continue, and I told the speaker, as I said, we started discussion that there should be a situation where we can create a permanent commission on rehabilitation and reintegration, maybe for 10 more years. To the extent that government will capitalize and the international community will talk to donors to help to rehabilitate these people and reintegrate them properly. It's a serious security threat if we don't do so. And I'm saying it with my clear conscience. I'm saying it because I love Liberia. I'm saying it because for what I said, I'm well informed, I'm involved, and I know the problems. And I believe that the way for us to move this country forward is to continue the dialogue, is to continue to solve the problem through exchanges, through intellectual exchanges, through discussion, through meetings, town hall meetings, rather than people trying to foment problems, because they want power, to go use you. Oh, you know, that woman, a Congo woman, brown push, when you see Congo people, she can learn that. That's a crap. I don't live like that. That's a crap. So we got to move the country forward. And it's about time I will say the truth. People attribute all the ones that happen in the country to one group of people trying to hypnotize other people, trying to make other people the screen that their characters, and where are they? Me people that cause the problem, and they know we know. So they better know that it's time that we reconcile the country, truly reconcile the country, and move the country forward. I said, if you 50-year-old up and you follow the problem from the history of the problem, you got to try to wash your hand, all of y'all, to wash your hand for government business. You got to give a chance now. You sit down. You can serve our advisors. We can send you to the technical area, the university area. We need plenty of teachers. Even the secondary schools. We need a big institution. Therefore, keeping an institution, you can go and teach people human rights. You know how many persons we talk about justice every day? What is justice? When somebody don't even know how to clean up community, when somebody get paid tax the government, when there's a fire problem somewhere, you got to go over and go throw it on a horse. People pay taxes. Government will send ambulance there to provide fire protection. Government will do everything. Sometimes the problem can be attributed to capacity. Government got capacity, they won't get capacity. But the way we'll try to get capacity is when we work together and we'll be fair with each other. People should start scapegoating. I know the code. Look at me. Nobody can scapegoat me. Maybe it happened because it started way back in 18 from E.J. Rao moving the president in that kind of way, moving President Toa and so we got caught up in this problem well. But from what I see, from interaction we've had with our colleagues, the young people from 49-year-old now, I'm not doing people for any 50-year-old man, 60-year-old man, or 70-year-old man or woman who can't tell you say go do this or go do that. You have that problem? For the money you have to for our people, now go sit down in your village and go talk to them by yourself. Because it's about time that people get a chance to run the country, because the future is for the young people. It's not for people who started the country here by introducing violence to us.
Thank you for making those points that are well taken, and you say that it's for the young people, not only the young, but those who cause the trouble, they should sit down. Now we're talking about institutional reform. I agree with you to some extent, but we find a situation where if people who do not have the experience, some Because you have politicians, and all politicians were not trying to look for president's job or using war. If you don't have people around with the experience, institutional memory, and people just come from the school, book school, what would happen where you have a situation now where you have people holding positions? For example, people who should make the law, to make law to govern a country, they just go into law school to learn how to make laws. Oh, you go in law school?
I finished with my thing. I get waiting. I don't know what I finished there. Because all the business in here.
But it's good because you someone who can show example to those who.
I didn't say we should get you people off the landlord altogether. But the role you people play in the past, we need to call it down.
Exactly.
They can be the one to decide everything, and people can serve as mentors. You people can mentor us. You people can guide the process as consultants and things. Hey man, you know you'll be your test. That's some old people that are very, very, very good. Because they the bad ones too, and the masquerade around here, they ain't so clean. They ain't clean on that part in the country. Why you sit there? You sit there. Why you're doing the time when you're when you start, what you take to have the country you want all that clean. I say everybody when you fit there your hand up clean get anybody, but you need to play on Saah role now.
Yeah.
You know when you go to the court, the kind of Saah conference, you gotta be guiding us. We got plenty of fine young people. You know I'm going to school. Now I agree with Mr. Woods. We must put more money in education. Send people to school, go to the country and recruit, get the legislators, the citizens of the country and say we got government got 100 scholarships. Divide the scholarship among the people. Don't be hiding it the way it's happening. If it's happening, continue to happen. That will have certain people the opportunity to do certain things because of fear or anything like that. That educate our people, that put our future in our children. So that they can come and take over. You want me in the landline government forever. Your whole lifespan have to remain in government. That's what we're seeing. Because people got personal problems with each other. And we part of one young. And you understand me? Someone like 70-year-old man, well, eating money long time. Why you got one 39-year-old boy or 40-year-old boy got to do it with somebody who is 70-year-old? That's what we're seeing. We're not seeing we should get people out of the land all together. We need you people. You can plant a new mark and say there's an old mark. You got to see how to plant the old mark, to plant the new mark. Or the way to do it now, you got to get things small. You got to give away because you're full of too much. I don't put any problem. All right? You're excusing for expression. If your mother every day in the evening, you get your husband, say the kind of things to tell the children to go get ready for dinner. You get the young guy, you in the car, you gone. Your husband can't, you know who. If they don't get busy, she said, how am I to do it? Instead of just smart, there's no children, they can see the man, they don't get same before time, but the way they go about doing it, I will not do it I'll do it differently. So, the way, the kind of thing they put introduced in the country here, it was not fair to remove to solve the local United States of America. 1776. Am I correct?
Correct.
Today is what? 2008. November 4th, 2008. Change. Who told you there were not better times? There were better times. But they now resorted to the kind of thing here. You know, they went through it, and if you say you're progressive, you went to school and came back, you knew it right now. So the way they say, I rather go kill president and go tell people to put you in trial there, code of community jurisdiction. You use the soil and everything, the soil and kid, They better leave the people children. They're the one responsible. You know your lawyer, if you establish a concession, these people are principals. Of course, everybody that participated could be referred to as accomplices, but the principal architect of this problem are the people that are political actors there. And that's what I mean. They should get change and they should rest. Other people got doctorate degree, other people got master's degree, the young, they all in the country and they will come out. And that government open up small and give you opportunity for people to get educated. It's not be done the way it can. I say that only now. It been happening before. In my own government, the scholarship, I know the only scholarship government in the country. That one will happen away. So I see there. We got to open up. That's the opportunity young people so they can take over, they can step in the step of old people. When you retire, you can serve as consultant, you can serve in the area of consultant, you can go to the university to teach and things like that. Young people are opportunity to be educated and to come and serve the country honestly. Because if you look at our history, the old people got too much parents. So when I said I woman pay me, one man tell a friend woman long time, you stay there quiet. 7-day-old woman, what kind of woman pay me you want again? You stay there quiet for somebody. They make you money in 1950. Where 1950? Where 1950? It will want to pierce the veil of each of those people. All right? You will see all of them will run there. Because nothing could happen here. Look at the University of Liberia, how small it is. And all the money the people been having in the country, I got to play school at one national university to open a place with their confusion. To find money to open a problem. The same people. I don't see you should get rid of you. I'm saying you should get a small, you play a different role now. You can mentor, you can go to the university to teach, you can go to the I don't want here for making ultimate decision. When you continue to set the way you're looking, what old people, every time the old people will be taking care of, what people having, what detail won't happen. Every time they make a decision, they will think about, oh, people are my enemy. So the policy, I made the policy to exclude her. What is other old man? What my people nephew? Kafuma Kona, yeah, oh, the other old man too. People say like, oh, you know more man. So I can't deal with him. All kind of thing. Just people like, I'm older man, I can't deal with him. We can't continue all kind of thing. So we got to get away, you know, for people to get opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mr. Witness and representative from Mount Gibi. I have oversight for Mount Gibi, and Mount Gibi really participated in a peace process to the extent that people said they did the best in participation. You've been there, you've done that, and when you speak, your people should listen. Thank you very much for participating in the peace process.
Thank you very much, Mr. Witness, for participating in the TRC process. I'm sure that we all agree that TRC process is the best way for Liberia to move forward. And on behalf of the Commission again, we say welcome and thank you for coming. In your presentation, you talk about the cause of the conflict, and then you mentioned something about the early formation of NPFL. It interests me to know that not more people have talked about that. You said initially there was a group, but there was no leader, and Charles Taylor came and then he became the leader. Can you tell us who were the initial participants, who founded that group, where were they trained?
If you call Donald Chair or Tom Way, will tell you. I was not Minister of Defense or the MPFL, and it was structured in a way from what I saw. And I'm telling you the truth. People don't lie. Let me say to you today. If people lie, maybe I don't know. I know it well. My father never lied to me. My mom never lied to me. He called Tom Way, maybe Tom Way will tell you who were there and where they were trained. You get people coming here, they telling you, man, they put a train, they were trained in other place. Then you want to ask me? That means you want to ask. You just want to ask me that question? Ask Tom Way you. Chat to the here. I think it's 2005 for the Rotterdam. Now you pay somebody where you go down, you're asking, he will tell you that the best evidence, or Tom Way you, or Donald Chair. You understand what I'm saying to you? I don't know where they take that training. I don't know what the initial people, they will be able to tell you. We victims, people that will just call up in that thing, but I started way back. It started from that EJ Raw man. You know the first violence that EJ Raw, but that one went to Oklahoma with it. But the one that I pin my hand around 1980. You say the people might not last you. That we're speaking here like human beings. People exclude you. As it is today, every time you go in the castle corner, you're not a politician. Oh, the people, the way to solve the problem in the country here, the people every time they get taken our money, they're doing that. Hey man, you have been sleeping when you go to the election to the ballot box. When you see somebody picture on the presidential ballot box, tell you that's how it's because I can see man. They allow to certify you. But I want to go grab one president and go call a truck, or go grab him and go put him on here and go hinky and disgrace him. You understand what I'm saying to you? Or go grab people and stand on the point and shoot them with gun. There are people here who they wouldn't be able to go to turn around to have a hair. When time comes for this kind of thing, they are like they clean. I want to see the new bunch of hair for the whole comment penny. Because that can maybe it will not be there. So now you get too wrong too much. I said that I said you can food some people, something get food all the time. Every time you add like smile, you smile. Then when time comes for governance, you go you sit down. Now we the clean people, the other people are bad people. One day they try to catch you full. And we don't want no time to care about it for. So the best way to do it, I don't know your age, man. You want 50 now? You want 50? You not 50, you falling now? Well, okay, like a personal thing. Sorry, I'm just joking. But if you 50 Sunday, well, I end up paying this to your profession, to your career, to your education and everything. you know, it's so disgusting that sometimes we don't include all the same way you say the young people this time they don't see what I have seen that the old people then I want to show no good example. Because the way the teach power and the go to the ballot box, we say we are mentored by the United States. Everything we do, we made up for the United States. You see how the United States bring change? They go to election and they elect their leaders. After elections, America is the issue. The cost now is America. Senator John McCain was just in Chicago, Illinois. They talk about America. The issue is not about Barack Obama or John McCain anymore. It's about the United States. They got issues that is national centric. For example, the war in Iraq, the war in Afghanistan, and the global economic problems are the issue. But in Liberia, it's about personality. I live on Fiske. I live on a charter ball. I live on a 7 kilo ball. I live on a tall ball, a tome ball. Then you are. You what? You town maker, we know them. You see when they know, we know them. But it's time for peace. When people went to Accra, they say the way far from Liberia, we should come to the TRC so people can tell the truth for things to be all right in the country. But as a young man, I feel canonically that these old people, young 50-year-old people and above, don't need to sit down small. You're too much problem for us. You're going to trouble, you're disagree. Why the politicians going to have peace? Why the people will initiate dialogue? You go to school to set good examples. You don't go, you come out, you go get education, you come out. The country moving forward, people get peace, they building the home and working, making their money, they living with that. My father has 7, 8, 9 wives. Even though, if you look at contemporary writer, it's not fair to our mothers and things like that, but they don't have partner. Generally, because the friend asking me whether my father, a child, they were doing me, that my baby. Nobody not do nothing to me. I'm happy the way my people promise, or I want to make it, I'm not depending on nobody's pocket. I know how to love my money more than anything, trust me. You understand me? So, but you old people, you gotta think twice to know that you're wrong us. You're wrong for the 9-year-old now. You gotta be kind of, you gotta make that confession. Then that way we'll move forward.
Well, thank you very much. And the chairman asked you a question about the 17 person that was killed. You said that as a citizen of Lofa, you will never do that. And you even mentioned about the Geneva Convention.
Yeah. How prisoners were supposed to be treated. How people who are captured in combat. Yeah. How they supposed to be treated.
And then you also said that you're a member of the MPFL and you participated in combat.
Yeah.
My question now is, how did the MPFL treat the POWs?
Up to the time I began, you know, the MPFL have a structure, organizational structure, to the extent that up to 1994, I mean, the end of 1993, I left my previous assignment and was deputy MP commander to a former military person, very experienced military person. No, the whole war, people were divided. They had some former soldiers, very educated former soldiers on the other side, they had other soldiers on the side. Somebody like the late chief of staff, Prince C. Johnson. Prince C. Johnson, one of the best that we had. He died in a motor accident when he came from inspecting the war in Lofa County. The war, the people said there was no war. That woman died around there. I mean, he went Fort Belly, he went all over. He America to learn the military as it is being done today. We have Samuel Giovanni. We have a lot more persons that were militarily oriented. So there was structure there. We had a structure. As far as I know, after the time I got there was provision made for the feeding of POWs. We had some Nigerians that were in custody. We had some Yoruba people that were in custody. And I remember candidly, Mr. George S. Gborlie is living. He can tell you that during the formation of the Council of States, there was this understanding at the highest level that they should do exchange of prisoners and what have you. I remember bringing a squad of people as Provost Marshal and he delivered them to Mr. George Gborlie residence. Mr. George Gborlie gave me $100 US. I keep on running people down $100. You know, all the kind of concerns. I say, the LPC man when I want you man. Well, anyway, let me buy one raping. I went for one raping with $100. I like you the same way. And guess what? The children I told me I like you and Kissy children. My own cousin in the area. They all went in my area. They were treated based on the capacity of the availability. Even today, the police were volunteer. If you went there, you will see that they have problem with, because normally under the law, you should provide for the image, food, when they are sick, you should take them to the hospital and things. But again, the circumstances. There were all kinds of things, but we have, the people who were making policy for the MPFL, they had some capacities to farm food and things, so there were rations given and they used to eat. I had an opportunity, the first time I encountered Mr. Kobe Johnson, who is my professor and former Minister of Justice, he was on the Monoya Saah. He brought a team of experts, and I don't know who they were, I don't remember actually who they were, to Banga. It was some RCRC people to look at the prison, the condition of the prison and what. That was my first time encountering him face to face. And he can tell you exactly his experience with me during our first day of encounter. But we were providing for them based on what we had. We made sure that they were there, they were kept there. There was strict instruction that nobody touched them. I'm in charge of somewhere and somebody says you go take, do I have power to execute people? If you look at the history of the MPFL, no, I have no witness anything of such. If it happened, not I know. And it is a fact. You go to Banga today, look, let me tell you something. Even the election of just 1 to 205, our competition will like to run in one country. But there are several factors now the politicians need to look at before you run into a particular constituency. But if I just say go and run where you popular, even Banga any president of my friend John Moluba, I could get you that maybe not to the representative level to one clergy or one quarter chief in Banga, I can get a quarter in Banga because I think we did the best we could in the best interest of the people that were there.
I want to take you back to the Phoebe massacre.
Phoebe.
You were not present. Your daughter was born within that time range.
I know from Kumara to Phoebe, they both hit Banga from Iron Gateway. About took away a road and Papa VP gate and went straight to Ganta. My brother-in-law, Joseph Zaga, had business in Ganta and things like that. I worry my people. I remember people in Palala. My suffering child man was running with Bele. Ganta was saying, go Phoebe. Don't do it, Phoebe. That made a contact there was that the people who are not used to let us see the children who were on the front line, who were very disgruntled. My teacher was requiring them when it kind of Banga was a place where if you shall go there without authorization, trust me, I'm locking you up. I have my responsibility to make sure we maintain peace and order. Alright? Our responsibility. So it was not a situation where people, as people think, people are just living against us and things like that. I know about it. Go Phoebe? No! Even if you go to the people graves who die today, they will tell you, they will tell you. It can never be so.
But based on the information gathered in our county hearing, it was clear that the MPFL were responsible for Phoebe massacre. Can you comment on that?
How would I comment on something that I have no knowledge of?
You're part of MPFL.
I was going to hear of MPFL. And there's no legal authority be on the MPFL. You know that. If you're not a lawyer, I think let your friend tell you. There's no legal authority for me to comment. I don't saw it. I don't participate, so I can't comment. And it's the fact I don't comment. You know the termination of massacre? To look at a group of people and just go and kill them or warrant them, they will be like this. It will haunt me. It will have haunted me. There's no way I can do that. I'm a very, very good person. I help people. Even in the Monoya, when I take the out of police, you'll never believe it. Go and find out. The people who are against century robbery to people who are personally raised by that kind of thing from Shindam when the bombs were dropping here. After they said there was no war in the country, until when the war in Monoya, they got to know there was war. If I call some names to you, the after president raised my back because I'm working in the security sector and people who were against the government, quote unquote against the government, to go and grab them because I thought that as a law enforcement executive, I had a responsibility to protect the citizenry, no matter who you were. So people saw that in me. They saw that I meant well. They called me, Saah, we have Mr. Gborlie, you it will die, and then it be you. But we think that you don't want to help on to take up a lesson on the thing, the racket trapping Saah, to my plea help and kill those from everywhere and keep it there. There are someone who can fight it and say, beg you. You sure you're not telling people say, I hear so look for me. I say, trust me, people will not test you and happy. They are alive. They are reputable people in the society today. They have serious position in the country today, and they can attest to it. They are giving testimony. We are not going to carry it up, and will not be that going to carry it up. I saw that. I saw that the way to be a good mommy is to be hardworking. Is to wake up my father in the morning and go to work. Is to make a lot of farms. Is to go to Lofa and bring a goat and then you get plate and sell them every morning. If your friend comes to visit you, you get in extra. My man take one baby and go cook a pepper soup. Oh yeah, everything here. And the kind of thing I saw, I had crew up. And I laid that through all the water. You see one pull them out on me. The one of my see on me is this one. You know why I saw something in there? You know where I sustained injury? I sustained injury in the land of detail here in Monrovia. I went to save lives at the Hajazi Beach. When Hajazi is living, and there are people here that can testify that his place was being unrolled. I, as an assistant director, I could say that today, when you're assistant director, you beach, you call the telephone, you can't even get nobody on the phone. You call the radio, you can't get nobody on the radio. I drove them myself and can't get unrolled the hard going here. Nobody fired me in the wall. I never received one bullet pin in the wall. And nobody locked me up. Nobody locked me to Mr. Taylor, as people could say, and I didn't allow Mr. Taylor or anybody because the only thing that would allow you, maybe if you put a same line in it. I tried to keep myself in a way that nothing touched me. The only man you see on me today, I got it at Jazzy Beach. You see here, in the land of duty. The government should be thinking about how to compensate people who serve honestly. Somebody like me, I got no man on my head, I go serve duty, and my hand got broken, the profile on my head. The one that say the man did wrong, they can't even look at that. The testimony later, you go to look down the Popo people, they'll tell you that ask whether you to sleep in the mosquitoes there with the security people to combat the armed robbers in the town. Everybody having gone all over the place, proliferating the place that will come. We have to show a semblance of responsibility. The government was responsible for security. With all the problems the government had, they were political, which were not my business. I had a D-Day and I was performing my D-Day, and I was conscious very much to know that whatever you do as a man, there will be a time that you answer questions. So that in no way I would have done anything to put myself in problem that day. You know, taking into consideration the history of the country, well, just because travel alone can kill, then how much more your brother go kill somebody? You know they will run behind your brothers and sisters. And I didn't want that to happen to my poor brothers and sisters. Thank you.
As security expert, based on your experience, and as a director of the SOD at the time, there was some combatant who participated in the war but became disabled in one way or the other. Some of them, because their limbs, they lost one of their limbs or their hand, and so forth. And we gather from information. I'm only asking you based on your experience and as a director at that time, what really happened to those people? We can see few of them now around the supermarket, but they're not increased number as they used to be.
No stories, the individual stories. You know, some people you see a posturing as ex-combatants, some of them come out on fire now because of rape. Trust me. Some of them want to go commit serious wrongs. No, there are a lot of complications. Liberia is the place that when people say education is key, let's look at education in the broader perspective. We need to look at how we can create opportunity to get vocational lives to the extent that they can have jobs to do and things. Some people were thieves already. Then you got a situation where you didn't have to show your resume to go be part of UNIMO or MPFL or how to call it, Blackberry or something like that. Of course, you carry the attitude there. And not everybody was born as a thief. So if I'm the commander, for example, and you want to pay the village and rape or get out, everybody had their own instructions and things like that. Some of them they got here in combat. And the reason why they got here in combat because there was war in the country. Because there was war in the country. Who brought the war? I tell you who take the greater responsibility. You people, somebody like you. Somebody like the other that saying about you there. And the other men who left for your just now, you people, because why you not agree with each other, you're gonna go the way to bring change, that'll go cater and go put people on the pole. That guy encouraging the other country into criminality. You people are responsible. And I'm very serious about it. And so the way forward is to create a condition where people will get resuscitated. To educate people, to help people to be carpenters, to help people to be computer operators, to help people to be masons, and create jobs. To rehabilitate is one thing, but to the extent that you rehabilitate the man, you can't get the man employment, the man will go back, and all of those things like that. So I don't know how some of them go when I talk to them individually, they will tell you. Some of them go hit you come back, some of them on TV delivery, some of them rocket jam and you get piece of air hit you and things like that. My own situation, I am performing a national responsibility based on the provision that created the Liberian National Police. I was responsible for these violent crimes and these terroristic things that happen in the domestic setting. I was in charge for a period of time. Let me tell you something today. I was director of the special service, assistant director of police of special services for a little over 7 months. When charge issue was there. When joking, I served as assistant director for special services, I later became an SOD for 3 or 4 months, and I was promoted to another position, deputy director of police assistant director of police for uniform operation. That SOD thing was already behind me long time. Before Joe died, I was sitting out of police when I went for follow training. Well, 3 separate trainings. I did training in terrorism, in counter-terrorism. I did training in the theory and practice of political warfare and things like that. So when I came back, I was already sitting down at police for operation doing normal police work. I was not in tactical police work anymore to go somewhere in the net to go rob your arm, rob anything. I was making decisions, looking at the major responsibility, the details of a law enforcement agency. The uniform police people, the patrol division, law enforcement detail that has to do with the regulation, non-criminal conduct, the issue of crime prevention, the issue of crime repression. Those were my concentration. I was doing normal academic work now. I was not involved with that thing, and I rose through the rank and became deputy director of police. The day Jordan died, I was coming from China for another training. I arrived on the 10th, and the plane crashed on the 10th. And in September, when I made the appointments, I became deputy director of police. And I think I performed to the best of my ability.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wisnes.
Thank you.
You've said over and over who is responsible for the problem.
You all people.
I just want to make something clear that the TRT commissioners have been to all the 15 counties. We have actually listened to the voices of the victims. We have seen their condition. We share your passion. We know that their life needs to be improved. We know that there have to be education for them. What we are doing, the process about truth-telling, reconciliation, and justice.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's not about, throwing blames. We want to know what's happening. When you came, the chairman told you the information the commission have already gathered.
All right.
From the people who testified before the commission.
All right.
We offer you the opportunity to say what really happened.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. It's okay.
So,
thank you.
Thank you. So I just wanted to make
Sorry,
that
I
clear.
don't say no comment here, anything, you leave it. That one not important. I agree.
We are not saying that nobody did anything. We know that things happen. We want to understand why it happened.
All right.
And what can we do as Liberians to move forward.
I help people. All the time I was working, I was taking care of my people. I had a constituency that I came from. My brothers could not afford school fees to go to school. Every little money I work for, I paid our school fees, I helped them. That's why after all the wrangling, when people talk with dogs around here, I went back to them, they elected me legitimately into office. That's why I'm holding the post I hold today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.